Don't forget women's service.
Sir, my dad is over across the way. He's 82nd Airline Mother, 45. Yeah, she was in the Marines.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
Sure, I have it. Hey, Josh, you got my card? Let me return the favor. I'm going to give you a card back. Yes, sir.
Master Chief, 30-year career, 1943 to 1973. You served in World War II, Korea, Cold War, and Vietnam. And you have a YouTube that I'm going to share on here.
I invite you to pray in your tradition as I pray in mine. Mighty Commander of all the angel armies, our sons and daughters, the pride of our nation, continue to set upon mighty endeavors, struggle to preserve our republic, our religions, our civilization, and to set free suffering humanity across the globe. Lead them straight, true, give strength to their arms, and stoutness to their hearts, and steadfastness in their faith. Enable each one of us here to remember the sacrifices of those who have gone before us with dignity, pride, and inspiration for a brighter tomorrow. And may these who have sacrificed all rest in peace and within your outstretched arms of love. In your incredible name, amen.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 1940-41. The United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle, man to man. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
The next stage of phase is important. It simply states, our landings in the Cherbourg Harbor area have failed to gain the satisfactory conclusion that have withdrawn the troops. My decision to attack.
On June 6, 1944, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander of Europe during World War II, led the Allied forces in the D-Day invasion of Normandy, France. Codenamed Operation Overlord, this was the largest invasion in human history that led to the liberation of Europe. On behalf of the Eisenhower Foundation, welcome. Thank you all for joining us to commemorate this special anniversary and pay tribute to the legacy of Dwight D. Eisenhower and the greatest generation. Today, we mark the historic 80th anniversary of D-Day. As one of the first organizations formed to honor World War II veterans, the Eisenhower Foundation is honored to hold this event alongside the global commemoration of D-Day. 21 World War II veterans are here today. The wartime contributions of these guests of honor, along with countless others who cannot be with us today, helped the United States and our allies defeat the Axis forces, putting an end to the deadliest conflict the world has ever witnessed. We mark this anniversary by laying this wreath here, as well as sites across the globe that share the connection to General Eisenhower's legacy. Today, wreaths are also placed at the Normandy American Cemetery, Utah Beach American Memorial, and Point Hawk Ranger Monument in Normandy, France, the World War II Memorial and the Eisenhower Memorial in Washington, D.C., and the birthplace of General Eisenhower in Denison, Texas. These wreaths are laid to remember and honor World War II veterans as we join the globe in commemorating this anniversary. Now, I would like to introduce the Honorable Laura Kelly, Governor of Kansas. Please help me welcome Governor Kelly to the podium.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Brigadier General Nell. We appreciate that you are with us today, and we're grateful for your service and the service of all our men and women of the 1st Infantry Division. Next, I'd like to introduce Major General Paul Stanton, Commanding General, U.S. Army Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Eisenhower, Georgia. Major General Stanton graduated from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point in 1995 and was commissioned into the infantry. He transitioned into the cyber branch in 2015. His military education includes the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College and Senior Service College Fellowship. Please join me in welcoming Major General Stanton to the podium.
I'm supposed to be a signal and cyber guy, so I'm going to talk right into this microphone. I do actually have a script, so I'll try to follow it so that I stay on time. But as I stayed in a hotel just on the outskirts of Abilene, my first visit to Abilene, Kansas today, there were a handful of our World War II veterans that were in the hotel alongside me. And I have to tell you, it's taken me the past couple hours to steady my emotions to stand at this podium. As I stand here with immense pride and immense reverence for your dedication and your service and for your setting the conditions for our future. I'm truly honored to be here today on what is a solemn yet remarkable anniversary. Thank you to the Eisenhower Foundation for inviting me to be here. I noted that the Eisenhower Foundation's mission states, quote, to honor and champion the relevance today of the life and leadership of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my responsibility. It is my responsibility as the commander of the Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Eisenhower to tie our past, your successes, your champion of freedom, to our future. As I said during our renaming ceremony last October, on Fort Eisenhower, we cultivate leaders who must embody the qualities of courage, integrity, and selflessness that General Eisenhower exemplified throughout his career, because our actions, like his, have wide-reaching and global impact. Fort Eisenhower is a cyber power projection platform where our soldiers learn and execute operations in and through the cyberspace warfighting domain, achieving national and strategic objectives and defending our critical infrastructure every minute of every day. We must have the vision to see the art of the possible, the resolve to set the conditions for operations, and decisiveness in execution. Those are our current responsibilities. Yet vision, resolve, and decisiveness effectively summarize the characteristics that General Eisenhower masterfully coordinated in the world's most significant and history-altering joint, allied, and combined arms operation ever executed. His decision to act succinctly in his own words, okay, let's go, unleashed the henceforth unmatched courage and sacrifice from those that executed that order. Gentlemen, thank you for the violent execution of that order. D-Day required... Thank you. D-Day required vision and resolve. Operation Overlord was literally years in the making. Alongside our senior Army leaders, General Eisenhower developed the vision and strongly advocated for a cross-channel invasion of Europe as early as 1942. But political pressures delayed action. We had to keep Russia in the war. We had to sustain operations in the Pacific. We didn't have enough watercraft. And candidly, our Army was at that point yet untested in combat. All relevant factors. But General Eisenhower clearly understood the key to Hitler's demise and the destruction of Nazi Germany was an invasion of Fortress Europe. The right vision must be accompanied by the resolve to see it through. Build the ships, win the fight in North Africa, and emerge with the world's best fighting force. All the while, continue to set the course for the vision. Although on a fundamentally different scale and with fundamentally different risk, cyber operations require an equally strategic and long vision. Where might we see the enemy in an attempt to achieve an effect? How do we navigate to the right machine through a number of different networks? What code do we write? What tools do we have? How do we establish command and control for operations in the cyber domain? We must combine the vision with the technical resolve over long windows of time. We have much to learn from your example. As General Eisenhower and the Allies narrowed their time window for a successful invasion, they required an unprecedented combined arms approach. Bombers, watercraft, naval gunfire, and notably, airborne operations. I proudly wear the Screaming Eagle as a combat patch on my right shoulder. Paratroopers behind the enemy's defenses were necessary to prevent unchecked reinforcements and an organized counterattack against the exposed forces on the beach, those exposed forces from the 1st Infantry Division. General Eisenhower's staff estimated that airborne losses would be on the order of 75 to 80%. Pause for emphasis. The staff said 75 to 80% of your airborne divisions, the 82nd and the 101st, would perish in an airborne operation. Yet, absent the airborne mission, all of the analysis suggested that the entire invasion would fail. If our soldiers couldn't get off the beach, we would fail. In his own words, General Eisenhower wrote, "Unless we throw a very strong force in the vicinity, the division attempting to land there will be in a bad spot. I instinctively dislike ever to uphold the conservative as opposed to the bold." Imagine the weight of that decision. Suffer catastrophic casualties from airborne operations, or the mission itself will fail. Again, later in his autobiography, in his own words, General Eisenhower wrote, "It would be difficult to conceive of a more soul-racking problem. I took that problem to no one else. I went to my tent alone and sat down to think, and later emerged. The attack would go as planned." This, ladies and gentlemen, is the combination of resolve with decisiveness. Let's go. Individual paratroopers were interviewed later, commenting that they didn't think that they were ever going to come back. Neither did any soldier that boarded one of those watercraft. Imagine the courage. I imagine your courage, and I stand in awe. Combine the commander's strategic resolve with the individual soldier's resolve, and you've set the conditions for decisive action. What staff officers and war game and analysis, and even General Eisenhower's own wisdom through experience could not have forecasted was the power, the might, the initiative, and the endurance of America's fighting force once unleashed. The soldiers and our service members, those in our audience, would not accept defeat. Small groups of paratroopers formed to prevent reinforcements, knock out artillery, and open the causeways. Small groups of soldiers formed to expand the beachhead, those 300 yards that they fought for every grain of sand, taking out a machine gun nest after a machine gun nest. Today, at Fort Eisenhower, in our classrooms, we attempt to teach that level of resolve, that level of commitment. We in uniform have the honor of visiting, when we have the honor of visiting with World War II veterans, we do so with justified reverence. Your patriotism and sacrifice to sign up to fight for our freedoms in our nation are examples from which we can all learn. Your courage to board a plane, to board a watercraft, a glider, that's what we in uniform all hope that we have if we're called upon. Your grit to fight alongside those to your left and right is what bonds us through decades. We will continue to live and honor the ideals and values established in the fight to free the oppressed from tyrannical forces. For those sitting in the first few rows, I again say thank you. To Mary Jean Eisenhower and the Eisenhower Foundation, thank you for joining us in Georgia in October of last year and establishing a relationship that ties what is now Fort Eisenhower to Abilene, Kansas, and to the Eisenhower Presidential Library and to the Eisenhower Foundation. Thank you for offering me this opportunity, which is a career highlight. As General Eisenhower said, quote, "History does not long entrust the care of freedom to the weak or timid." We must harness the vision, the resolve, and the decisiveness to continue our pursuit of a more perfect union. Thank you. This will defend, and God bless America.
Thank you, Major General Stanton. We appreciate your comments and are grateful for your service. Joining us today is the Honorable Jerry Moran, Senator for Kansas. Senator Moran is the ranking member of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs and has worked tirelessly to serve our nation's veterans. At this time, I would like to invite Senator Moran to the podium to provide a few remarks about what this day means for our nation. And finally, I'd like to welcome Eisenhower Foundation board member and retired Lieutenant General Mike Dodson to honor World War II soldiers who are with us today and remember those who are not.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Eisenhower Foundation, it's an honor to recognize the 21 World War II veterans that we have here with us today. I'd like to invite at this time, and Mary Jean will remain seated, but I'd like to ask General Eisenhower's grandson to come forward. This is Merrill Eisenhower, and he'll be providing certificates. And please hold your applause till after we get done reading the names, and then we can properly recognize them after all of them receive their certificate. So first, Edward Arzinger. David Bontrager. Josephine Cahill. Terrence Carlson. Melvin Doan. John Dockery. Clyde Grisham. Eli Hernandez. Kenneth Johnson. Eugene Jean Kramer. Gary Robin Ledecker. Carl Mills. John Mock. Saw John come in. George Norton. Carl Otto. C. Dean Pressall. He's next. Marvin Redeker. Vernon Reeman. William Bill Robinson. Wilford Vargas. Paul Yabar. Melvin Berry. Let's have a round of applause for these guys. For those who are with us today and those who will not be with us, we salute you. We thank you for your service to our country and to the world at a perilous time. Because of your bravery, the deadliest conflict in human history was won. Thank you again. We'll now have salute. We'd ask to be seated.
Right. Hey! Look at the camera.
Right here. Jerry.
Cameras.
On the back side of your
Can I join you?
Thank you, sir.
Aren't you nice?
All right, smile, take it back.
Yes. Sorry. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Martin Mattert with Witness to War. This organization is dedicated to recording the stories of not only World War II veterans, but of all veterans, so that people can understand their experiences. The Eisenhower Foundation was fortunate to work with Witness to War during our 75th anniversary of D-Day, and we're thrilled to have them back today. So please welcome our panel moderator, Martin.
Afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It's beautiful weather out here at Abilene, Kansas. It's nice to be back. As Meredith said, I'm Martin Mattert. I've been doing oral history interviews of veterans from all conflicts for the last 11 years. I've done approximately 2,500 interviews. Now, mostly Vietnam and War on Terror veterans, but was very fortunate to meet over 1,000 World War II veterans in my time doing this. So it's nice to be here moderating this panel with three terrific veterans who I've had the pleasure of doing a little bit of research over the last couple weeks on, and I'm looking forward to them sharing their stories with you all. So today, on our far stage left, we have Paul Ibarra, who served with the 8th Infantry Regiment Golf Company. To stage right, we have Carl Otto, who serves with the 94th Signal Corps. And in the center, we have Mr. George Norton, who served with the United States Navy in the Pacific. Could we get a round of applause for all of them? I'd like to start with Mr. Paul Ibarra. Paul, could you describe the beach you landed on in Europe?
Well, on the morning of we landed, we left England not knowing where we were going. And it was a hard decision. When they dropped that landing boat on the beach, we still didn't know where we were going.
The myths of the greatest generation. Carl, thank you so much for joining us today. You served with the 94th Signal Corps, correct?
Right.
All right. As I understand, you did serve 10 days with the infantry squadron. Could you tell us about that?
I'm not sure just how, is this on?
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure just how long it was, because, well, when the Battle of the Bulge started, I was in England, in a rear echelon unit doing nothing. And I was 18 years old, and I thought I was invincible. And I wanted to get in there, I wanted to kill some crows. And so when they asked for volunteers for infantry replacements, I volunteered. But what I didn't know was that I would be fed into a situation where Hitler apparently had planned that push because he knew what the weather forecast was too. And his troops were dressed a lot better than we were. And that's when that Battle of the Bulge started. But anyway, we took casualties and I volunteered. So when I went in right into the teeth of a storm, the worst blizzard that had ever hit Europe in a long time. And the one thing I remember was they lined us up in a staging area. Well, they just grouped us. And this grizzly old sergeant came walking down the line. He looked like he's 50 or 60 years old, but he was probably 31. He said, he picked out whatever it was in his squad, 10, the young faces. And I was one of them, I suppose I looked like I was 15 then. Anyway, he gets us all together, and the first thing he said was, "Now you glory-hungry little bunch of bastards." He said, you just couldn't wait to get into the war. Well, war is hell. People get killed in war. And he said, you're not gonna do anything without checking with me. You won't go to the bathroom. You won't do anything unless you check with me first. And if you step out of the line 1 inch, I'll shoot you in the foot and you'll go home alive. Well, he made a believer out of me. So those days that I was in the infantry, I'm not even sure how long I was in, because my service record doesn't even show that I was in it. But I got my ears, well, my ears stick out enough as it is. But the cartilage in my ears are just, I don't have hardly any cartilage. My nose and my chin, my fingers, my toes, I got frostbitten. And so I found out how tough it was to try to survive a winter, a cold night, when you don't dare build a fire. You build a fire, you call enemy shells in on you. So we didn't build a fire.
Last and certainly not least, we have Mr. George Norton. George, my first question, and we haven't prepped any of these beforehand, so forgive me if I'm putting you on the spot, but why the Navy, not the Army, the Marine Corps? Why Navy?
I was 17 when I joined the Navy, and when I went down to Kansas City, old post office building, I had a choice of services. Well, I've had several people ask me why I joined the Navy. Well, I had the Army and the Marines, but I said, there ain't no water back here, so I think I'll just join the Navy.
So, as I understand, you served aboard 11 ships, is that correct?
13.
13 ships.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me about the ships that you served on. Were they all the same ship?
Oh, no. This is a regular service. I'll put 2 years of what they call the Armed Guard. The Armed Guard is nothing more or less than gunner's mates and signalmen on merchant ships. In other words, merchant ships didn't have guns before the war. They put guns on them, and I was in the Armed Guard, and we handled the guns and the watches, and they took care of the rest of it.
Now, I understand one of your ships was hit with a kamikaze plane. Could you tell me about that?
That was still back in the Armed Guard. First ship I was on, 19 months I was on coast to coast to Josiah Snelling. And the worst part was we were in Guam taking on ammunition and cargo. Well, we got cargo, but we didn't get any ammo. Well, we got a little ammo, but we didn't get any personnel. We're supposed to have 24 people or 25 to man 8 guns, and we went in having 13, and 5 of those were communication people. So here we had 8 guns to man, and 9 guns actually, 8 W2, 8 war. We had 8 20 millimeters and 1 3-inch 50. Takes 6 or 7 people alone to man a 3-inch 50, and everyone is short-handed. And we spent a week trying to teach the merchantmen how to man the guns. That was really nice. They volunteered, jumped in there, and we got it. But as I said before, the worst part was while we was in Guam, we was tied up at the pier, and here come right after the invasion of Okinawa, here come some hospital ships tied up right across. I have 4-hour watching them carry these people over this ship, offload this hospital ship, and I says, I'm in the wrong place, you know? But anyway, we got out of there and talked to merchantmen how to man the guns, and they really was good, and we ended up getting credit for 3.5 planes shot down. And then luckily, one day, there seemed to be a lull in the attacks. One day you don't know. One day you're attacked by several planes, next day it's 1 or 2. Maybe it might be 8 or 10. You didn't have time to look up and see how many was there. You just tried to shoot down what you saw. Anyway, this one day, the plane was coming back off. Well, I tell you where we were. We were in a bunch of ships at Anchorage, offloading cargo. All of them had a barge alongside each ship, and they would put the cargo down on the barge with the booms, and then other ships would come by and pick up the cargo. But anyway, this ship come by, and the ship's captain, or not the captain, but the gunnery captain says, hey, George, he said, you see that plane? I said, yeah, let's shoot it. He said, go ahead. So we pulled the trigger. Even the gunnery officer didn't know about it. Well, we seen a burst of stuff flying from the plane and all, and hit the water. And thereafter, being as I was appointed, they called me One-Shot Norton. But anyway, that was just so luck I closed my eyes. But Okinawa we was pretty busy in Okinawa. After we got our quota, it seemed like by the next plane come by off our starboard quarter here, but only closer, coming by the ship was at 45 yards. You could look up, you could see he was dead. And just as he passed me, I got hit. But here's what I heard afterwards. The plane went on, and his left wing hit the boom of the cargo ship and set that plane down in the cargo hole. So I was laying down in the gun tub, and the gunnery officer was fixing me up, stopped the blood and passed it up, and he said, now get back to that gun, you know. So I got up in time just to see them putting out the fire. One bomb went off, 40-pound bomb, went mast high. They put the fire out, and the stevedores and all was going down into the hole to check the plane. They said to see if the fire was out. Well, what they really wanted was souvenirs. But I got mine too, so they give me souvenirs. They come back out of the hole. They flooded the #1 hole with water, battened down the hatches, and was told to get underway. contacted the officer in charge of the convoy, and he said, well, if you can't keep up, we'll just leave you. Or bow or whatever like this. 6 weeks later, we pulled into San Francisco, or about 6 weeks, and they wouldn't leave us in the harbor. Wouldn't even leave the ship in there. Took everybody off, put them on leave and left. When we come back on leave, the paper said that some crew had offloaded a 500-pound bomb off of the Snelling that was live. So they got that bomb off of there. The truth of the matter is, when a cargo ship is only half unloaded and a 500-pound bomb goes off in the hole, it sinks in 7 minutes. So I always say, the good Lord and a 500-pound bomb sent me back. That's part of it. I would like to say, if y'all want a card of mine, I'm planning to give you a card here. Just says the same thing. I'm 99, the 7th of July, 30 years in the Navy. I retired as a Master Chief. And
If I understand correctly, you're a veteran of Korea and Vietnam as well?
Yes.
I'll ask you the same question I've asked the other two gentlemen, and it's, what do you want people to remember about World War II based on all your experiences?
I think we learned that we shouldn't be in wars. I think we learned we should be talking. You know, even though talks most of the time don't do anything. But that's what I think we learned. Stay out of wars as long as you can.
I think that about concludes today's panel. I appreciate everyone for visiting the Eisenhower Library today on this 80th anniversary of D-Day. It's been a pleasure hearing from all these veterans. Give it up for them one more time.